I'm gonna fight for my freedom to take away other people's.
Good morrow and welcome to the Civil Update, where I, Waldo Waldorf, and my Associated Press attempt to bring you the latest and greatest on President Lincoln's Great War, or maybe not so great war, depending on whose side you're on. In any case, we will be hearing about the lives of the men and maybe women, probably not, defending their country. And when I say their country, I mean, I don't know what I mean. However, we will be hearing from Wilmot Barrington presently on the state of travel in the military. Wilmot
Barrington here. I'm on the scene of an infantry march of Union soldiers. These husky boys have been marching behind me for days. Infantry marches are the most common form of transportation for soldiers and generals, and officers ride on horseback. Here's a soldier now. Let's talk to him about the marches. Sir, how do you feel about this marching?
Well, it's part of the job and I'm happy to do it. But it's tough. We walk great distances, stopping only to sleep in makeshift camps when we don't have a house to stay in. We have to eat old, gross food if we don't come across a farm on the way. But we have it better than the Confederate scum who don't have good tents or shoes.
You're right about that, young man. Confederates may have to travel a shorter distance, but they don't have the supplies that the Union boys do. On top of that, they have the added stress of having to present their passports at all of their borders to weed out potential runaway soldiers or slaves. But you boys only have to present your passports at the border between the Confederate line and the Union line.
Well, I have to get back to my marching. Go Union!
Go Union indeed. Back to you.
Thank you, Wilmot. Next, in this evening's bill of fare, we bring you a report on the maggot-infested, contagion-spewing, pungent death trap that is known as a military hospital. Brought to us now by our associate, Ryan Fort Worth. Ryan.
In today's segment, we will discuss just what our soldiers have been through serving us in the Civil War. Many soldiers didn't have the luck of being treated in a general hospital. The hospitals that are nicer and specialize in particular diseases and medical conditions are the general hospitals. They were treated in a field hospital, which was usually just a makeshift tent or inside a barn on the nearest citizen's land that was near a steady water supply. The doctors that treated them had basically as much experience as they did anesthesia on hand, relatively none. On some occasions, the soldiers, the heroes that served to defend and protect our country, were left on the battlefield overnight due to the constant overflow of wounded soldiers that were constantly arriving at the field hospitals. Luckily, in an attempt to decrease this problem, ambulances were invented and served well in aiding the river of soldiers to the local field hospitals. However, the most common cause of death, nearly 400,000 to our heroes, was disease such as diarrheal disease from a lack of a clean water supply and hospital gangrene. Luckily, the war will soon end, and this nightmare that is the medical treatment of our soldiers will be over.
We can only hope, Mr. Fort Worth. And now, urgent news from our associate, Lilith Swearington, on the subject of sanitation. Lilith, please.
This just in. Outbreaks of typhoid are sweeping through Union military camps following reports of waste in drinking water. It is unknown at this time whether or not the two are directly linked, but leading experts say that they can find no other possible cause. It is also unknown how many are being affected by the epidemic, but recent estimates place the final death toll as a result of the epidemic by the end of the war, enough on disease and infections combined, at roughly double projected casualties from battle. In response to this, Acting Surgeon General Clement Finley has called for the institution of a commission of inquiry and advice in respect to the sanitary interests of the United States forces, or a United States Sanitary Commission. In shorter terms, Secretary of War Simon Cameron has yet to respond. In another statement, Mr. Finley claimed, "The sudden and large increase of the Army, more especially of the volunteer force, has called the attention of this office to the necessity of some modifications and changes in the system of organization as connected with the hygiene and comforts of the soldiers." In other news, soldiers are reporting displeasure at the rations being distributed by the Union Army. hardtack and a substance called sloosh, consisting of bacon, grease, and cornmeal appear to be the most common rations, and it seems unlikely that such a diet, though admittedly plentiful, can allow the brave men fighting for our country to subsist. Additionally, there are reports of weevils in the hardtack.
Hang in there, boys. Someone's got to. But you know, it makes you wonder how our boys in blue while away the hours in these abominable conditions. I know who can answer that question. Nicholas Nicholson.
Free time is spent in card games, reading, pitching horseshoes, or team sports, such as the fledgling sport of baseball, a game which rapidly gained favor among Northern troops. Rule booklets were widely distributed, and the game soon became a favorite. Leisure activities are similar in both the Union and Confederate Army, and most free time is spent writing letters home. Soldiers write at every opportunity. It is the only way for them to communicate with loved ones and inform the home folks of their condition and where they are.
Dear Lucille, I fear I will die soon.
Dennis!
Take care of Linda and all the puppies. Much love, husband. Can't get me now, my right
The arrival of mail in camp is a cause for celebration, no matter where the soldiers are, and there is sincere grumbling when the mail arrives late. The lucky soldiers who receive a letter from home often read and reread them many times over. The packages from home contain baked goods, new socks or shirts, underwear, and often soap, towels, combs, and toothbrushes. Back to you.
While these men relax before returning to the torrent of battle, some have already gone to the final rest. Like this dead guy. Weapons and munitions have only gotten deadlier since the Revolution, and the pumpkin throwers of the old days are being replaced by reliable percussion rifles that shoot a French cylindroconical projectile called the mini-ball that flies straighter and inflicts more damage on human targets than conventional musket balls, producing an effect similar to that of a hollow-point bullet, fanning out as it rips through a target. Yes, these soldiers would be a deadly force to be sure if they could only load their guns properly. The new percussion system has proved to be too complicated for many young volunteers to master, often forgetting to place the charge in the nipple. In the din of battle, many don't notice when their gun doesn't fire because of a human error. As a result, many soldiers stuff their rifles to the barrel with ammunition unfired, dying with a useless wooden stick in their hands, like this foolish dead fool. More foolish are they who are incompetent enough to be captured and rot in prison camps like the Confederate Andersonville. Neither the Union nor the Confederacy was prepared for the sheer number of POWs that would necessarily be held captive over the course of the war. Living conditions are described as hellish by inhabitants of the camps. Many prisoners are without food, clothing, or shelter. Sanitation is a major issue in the 150 camps that have come to dot the landscape since the beginning of the war. Many prisoners conduct all their business in open sewers. Imagine that. We now have ships that can deflect a cannonball, but the mortality rate in the camps is sometimes as high as 30%.